Welcome, Captains. Today we're taking a closer look at one of the most iconic premium aircraft carriers in World of Warships, the Japanese carrier Kaga. Is she worth your hard-earned doubloons, or is she best left in port? Let's dive in. Kaga has a fascinating history. Originally designed as a battleship, she was converted into an aircraft carrier in the 1920s, becoming a key player in the Imperial Japanese Navy during World War II. In-game, Kaga brings a unique flavor to carrier gameplay. So what makes Kaga so special in World of Warships anyway? Let's take a look at some of her key features together. Her biggest asset is going to be her massive aircraft capacity. Kaga boasts one of the largest hangars in game, allowing her to outlast most other carriers in prolonged battles. This means that every single one of your aircraft types is going to have a much larger reserve in comparison to other Tier 8 CVs. Kaga's biggest offensive squadron is going to be her torpedo bombers. Her torpedoes are quite fast, and they are the standard Japanese torpedoes, so you will beat other torpedoes like American ones in terms of speed. Also, it is important to note that each attack squadron, will be dropping 4 torpedoes per run. Her torpedoes also have a pretty high alpha damage. Another one of her squadrons that is good to utilize is going to be her dive bombers. Realistically, you want to use her torpedo bombers whenever you have a full flight of them. However, her dive bombers are also pretty good at catching DDs and starting fires on other ships. The chance of the bombs causing fire is about 50% without any signal uses. Her attack aircrafts leave much to be desired. Quite frankly, they are not that great in terms of hunting down DDs. Their animation time before they actually fire is quite long, and also the damage on them is also not that great. So realistically, I would suggest you to use dive bombers if you're going up against DDs. The reticle does get pretty tight if you don't move the planes too much, and also there's going to be 4 bombs dropping on each attack run. In terms of the ship itself, Kaga's maneuverability is not the best. She's quite sluggish, so you don't want to get caught out on a flank or start basically running away from people. They can pretty much catch up to you very quickly. This will tie into another point which I'll be talking about in the game commentary, where positioning with her is very, very important. You don't want to be super far away from the battle, so the time between your aircraft reaching the actual theater is going to be long. But also you don't want to be too close where you're risking, your life with being wrongfully positioned at the flank, or, any other cases like that. Kaga's AA defenses are also quite average in my opinion, maybe even a bit below average. You are able to defend yourself against some squadrons. However, if there's 2 CVs targeting you, you might want to utilize your fighters on your squadrons and start dropping them down in proxies around you. Welcome, Captains, to the live commentary part of the video, where we're going to be playing a game in Kaga, and I'm going to be explaining my decisions and basically what I'm doing and how I'm dropping people. At the beginning of the game, I like to start it up usually with either torpedoes or dive bombers. I think I'm going to start off with torpedoes here since there's lots of DBs. And I also feel like it's better for you to get the timer on your restoration time started on your torpedoes, since Kaga's restoration time is higher. It's actually higher than Enterprise itself as well, so it's good to get that going. However, I do have, again, more airplanes in my reserves. We're going to be looking at some isolated targets here. Thankfully, there's only 3 cruisers and they're all lower tier. Or, well, technically they're the same tier as my aircrafts, because my aircrafts are all tier 7. Enterprise starts with rockets, drops the fighter pretty defensively, which is going to be okay with me. Going to be completely avoiding it. Now, I have a feeling that we're going to have a DD here and also another DD on the other side. As you guys know, that the placements of the ship is pretty much mirrored. Basically, wherever your ships are is going to be the same place where the enemy ships are. West Virginia and Dunkirk. West Virginia, I believe, does have decent AA, but should be okay. There's the Enterprise. So here we should be able to drop West Virginia for torpedo bombers, and then after that we will use a little bit of an invulnerability window that you get when you do an attack run to swing around Dunkirk and drop Dunkirk as well. So right about there. And then we will be engine boosting here. Also using our heal. Get some early damage. Okay. West Virginia used DC, damage control, to get rid of that flood and incap, so we're gonna keep that in mind. We can either go for another flood on him to bleed him out, or we can go for a dive bomb and get some fires in. Which actually I think I'm gonna start going on a quick dive bomb on West Virginia. I use my dive bombers a bit more liberally. I tend to kind of like basically throw them into AA bubbles, since I majority just use torpedo bombers. So that's the reason why I'm going to be just flying straight into West Virginia instead of dodging away. However, the strategy that you want to use with Kaga is going to be pretty much consistent of being patient and trying to pick at isolated targets. Target selection is a very, very major tactic that you need to use, since, again, Tier 7 planes do not really last a lot under AA fire. So even here, as you guys saw, I tried to avoid the Pensacola AA bubble, even though Pensacola's, a tier lower than us. Or rather than our plane. Let's try and get some fires going on this West Virginia. Okay, we got a fire. That's good enough. Now we go back to our torpedo planes. So here we see that their kid has been spotted. It's in the middle, and we have another DD at the F10 square, all the way in the right side of the map. We could potentially go and drop that and try and win us the flank, but I think I'm gonna keep on working on this right side flank. West Virginia, as you guys can see, it's bleeding out. However, it seems like it has damage control, so we can actually go after him again. Oh, sorry, West Virginia was actually healing. That's my bad. So we'll see if we can get another fire on West Virginia here. Now, Kaga has one of the better concealments, in my opinion, so you can kind of be a bit more aggressive. I did talk about positioning being very important, and then over here I feel like it's more important to have the plane's flight time between targets and the carrier reduced. So I'm going to basically try and bring up my ship a bit more forward. So here we're looking for a flood. Sadly, we didn't got it, so we're going to try and go for another one. Now, if you try and aim for the bow or the stern component of the ship, there is a higher chance of causing the flood. That's why I'm dropping it pretty early. I'm trying to hit the stern of the ship, sorry, the bow of the ship with my torpedo to hopefully cause a flood. And there it is. So now I believe West Virginia should be bleeding out. Wow, he actually has damage control up again. Okay. Next flight should hopefully cause a permanent flood on him. So here I see Pensacola was last seen on the right side of this rock from my minimap, so I'm gonna basically avoid it, put an island between me and them, and avoid going there. Enterprise fighters are it's pretty much just trying to defend that submarine there, I'm assuming, or is trying to spot our DD, one of the two. I am not going to match his fighter. Oh, he actually just dropped another set of fighters here, so this might have to be a quick strike, maybe even a max distance one. But since I know he doesn't have damage control, I'm willing to eat the losses here. Let's try and recall the planes quickly. Now we're gonna go and focus up the Pensacola. Sadly we got unlucky, no floods on that one. So Pensacola quite isolated here, that's why I'm going to target him, and it's in a pretty good position for dive bombs. I think 2 good dive bomb runs should be able to finish her off. And then after that we can provide some fighters. After we kill the Pensacola, I can drop fighters around here for spotting and also proxy the Enterprise planes. So let's get a good position. Also, Japanese planes tend to be a lot more maneuverable than American planes as you're in your attack run, so you can kind of move around a little bit with them. There's Pensacola. We can hit York here as well. I am going to use my engine boost just to get closer to him in the shorter time, since he's launching fighters. And here he's pretty lined up, so I'm going to just lead it a little bit more. Ah, Birdly. That should be more than enough for our team to finish it. I'll just keep him spotted a little bit more. I'll try and drop a fighter for our team. That fighter should keep York spotted a little bit more. We'll see if they damage it. I see Enterprise is pretty low here. Seems like our team is trying to catch her out, you know, miss positions. So I'm going to actually target her now. As mentioned, Kaga has really high reserve, so you can just send waves after waves. Now, the drawback, of course, is going to be the high restoration times for the airplanes. But in this case of situation, you can kind of exploit it. Now, if no one finishes York, I might target the York here. But I do believe that since I have fighters down on them and she's spotted, maybe one of our battleships could snipe her out, but I don't think no one is in the range for her. So actually, I'm gonna divert my dive bombers, my torpedo bombers, and go after York. Then we'll do a last drop on the Enterprise. In the meantime, we can wait for the Enterprise fighters to go down. Keep in mind the ship consumable fighters stay up for 1 minute around the carrier, so realistically, I should be able to outweight them. Once again, patience is very, very important. So here York is angling out. I'm gonna try and cross-drop him if these torpedoes don't hit, which they don't seem to be hitting. So here basically you force the cruiser and the destroyers actually to sail in a straight line to avoid your first wave of torpedoes, and then the second wave is pretty much guaranteed to hit. That's back in the day in the RTS CV times, you would call it cross-dropping. And I kind of tend to do that as well. Oh, here we have a destroyer right here. Alright, so I'm going to assume that the DD has dropped torps towards me. So I'm going to turn out actually here, and I'm going to just go and drop some torps in his smoke, maybe force them out for our BB. If we can force out the DD out of the smoke, that will be more than enough. And there he is. Our Florida should be able to get some secondaries on there. I will drop my AA. However, Kit does have pretty decent AA, so let's lead for him. I'm assuming he's going to be turning out here, so decided to drop those torpedoes, but they seem to be good. Yep, that's 2 torps on him. Maybe he's going to sail straight in the same line again. Maybe that's second torp, but we're going to go after him with dive bombers now. Enterprise is also out, so this gives our team a very, very big advantage. The team that loses a CV first usually tends to lose, unless there is a huge number difference between the ships that are alive and dead. But yeah. As you guys can see, you know, it's 10 minutes into the battle, pretty much half of the enemy ship is gone, half of the enemy team is gone, sorry, and we still have more than enough airplanes. And as you guys can see, I really don't like the rocket planes, so I haven't even used them. I kind of don't really see the need to them. I know having a rotation is important, however, I feel like the dive bombers are pretty decent. Also, I hit every single flak there. That was not that great. But this should be it. I'm gonna hold it until a little bit later. There we go. Alright, and now we can come back. I was trying to, the reason why I turned the ship was to just dodge the Kit torpedoes, but I think he dumped his torpedoes on Florida. So sadly, I'm way far away, way further away than where I wanted to be with my carrier, but that's okay. The game's pretty much won anyway. So at the top right, as you guys can see, Nagato is pretty much dead here, so that would be on their base. I'm going to redirect my ships to either Brandenburg or King George. Probably Brandenburg, since it's closer to me as well. If you guys are wondering how I can see the hit points of the ships at the top of my screen, that's a mod. You can install mods at Mod Station. It's reviewed by the developers of WoWs, so everything's fair game, you know. There's different kinds of mods with different informations that you can get from there. Yeah. So just a quick recap. I would say there are 3 very, very important skills to master with Kaga. And to be honest, these skills also apply to other CVs as well. First and foremost is going to be target selection, since Kaga's planes again are tier 7, as you can see down here. So the same tier ships, the tier 8 AA is going to rip through them. Second key point is positioning, being able to cut down the time between the flight time of your airplanes and, them reaching the battle. Having said that, I haven't done an amazing jump this game because of the kit. I kind of overestimated him. But yeah, and then the third key thing to remember is just have patience. Sometimes it takes a while for you to find a decently isolated target, but it's usually going to be worth it. Alright, the fighters got tagged to my torpedo planes, but that's okay, I have another squadron up. And yeah, Brandenburg should die here, nice. Alright. That was a pretty decent game. So, the verdict. Is Kaga worth it? I think Kaga's in a pretty good spot right now. She's not the best tier 8 CV that you can have, but she's also not the worst. One thing to keep in mind is that her airplane restoration timer is pretty long. I believe it's about 1 minute and 20 seconds overall. So you do want some airplanes to be coming back after your, attack runs. But again, she does have a really big reserve, so realistically you have 3 full flights of torpedo bombers, for an example, to go through before you start having to worry about restoration timers, but it's still something to keep in mind. Now, would I recommend Kaga to new players? Probably not. I would recommend newer carrier captains to go through Tier 4 and Tier 6. Really learn carrier gameplay mechanics like ordnance dropping, recognition of, AA strength and AA bubbles of the ships, and get in general better at positioning their ships and learn their rotation timers before coming to Tier 8 and Tier 10 carriers. Since in Tier 8 and Tier 10, there is a lot of responsibility that you have to your team, and you also tend to have a much less time in AA bubbles. It's a lot less unforgiving. So especially with Kaga, actually, since Kaga have tier 7 planes, once you are in someone's AA bubble, you really have to, commit or try and disengage as quickly as you can. But even if you do try and disengage, it still does sometimes, hurt. You might lose 1 or 2 planes as a result of it. So putting all of this aside, I recommend Kaga to a captain that is looking for a versatile ship that can, take some punishment, lose some planes, but still be impactful throughout the game and still be able to influence the outcome of the game. That's my take on Kaga. What do you guys think about this iconic carrier? Let me know in the comments down below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe for more World of Warships content. Until next time, fair seas and happy hunting, captains.